right, welcome back to our special consumer alert. If you are buying a house or own a home and you need to know if there is an oil tank buried in your yard and what you should do if it's contaminating your soil. Here with me is the wonderful Mike Holmes and homeowner David Corey. And the Coreys know that there is no oil tank, but there are a number of other issues that they are currently facing. Take a look at this.
911 emergency.
Just a few days ago, we had a crew come in and test the soil all around the yard and underneath the house. And we're waiting to get those results. And those results will tell us how bad it's going to get, or might there be kind of light at the end of the tunnel here.
Taking a cross-section of the soil when we pull it out with plastic tubes, and when we pull them out, we'll be able to analyze the soil for soil type, and if we can confirm what we saw with the probes, soil contamination or environmental contamination.
Our purpose is to try and determine what the source of that heating fuel was. Was there an outside tank, and is there some source that's leaking into the building? We are getting a slight odor between 8 to 12 feet. It's not a strong indicator of petroleum. We don't know what it is, but that will be something that will be determined at the lab.
David, we've done our preliminary testing around the house. We've got the results in, and the results are excellent. There's no off-site soil contamination. What we don't know is if there's water contamination.
Water contamination?
Yeah, we got down as deep as 20 feet, but we didn't hit the water table. And what we suspect is there's been an indoor tank that's failed, and because of the sandy soil, the contamination has gone straight down.
Okay.
The issue is because it's gone straight down and we have a sandy soil, that means it can drop deep enough to get into a water table. If it gets into a water table, 1 liter can contaminate 100,000 liters of water.
That's huge.
It's huge. What we do is
bioremediation. It's a bacteria that's injected into the ground. It converts the hydrocarbon into water and carbon dioxide, and will chase the oil wherever it's gone. It takes a little while, but it's very, very effective. You're probably talking 6 months to a year.
Meaning, more than likely, you can't do anything in the basement until it's found that everything's gone.
Well, you took that news fairly well.
I was shocked.
I bet.
Yeah.
So nothing can be done for a while, at least a year. How often do they have to check that soil?
Well, hopefully Mike knows a little bit more about that than
like
I do.
He can't do anything to that basement until this work has been done, right?
Yeah. After the initial testing that they did do, they're trying to make sure that what it didn't do was spread outside the property. Because if it does, now you're responsible for your neighbor. You're responsible for 3 houses down. They could dig for a mile.
Can you believe this?
You're responsible.
Yeah.
So they confirmed that it did not spread outside the property. Now the secondary issue is, did it go down to the aquifer? In other words, did it go to the water table? Because if it goes to the water table and that oil gets in there, it could now go for miles. And if it goes for miles, in English, they put in these little spiders that they're actually like a parasite, an organic live product. And its whole life cycle is to eat oil. And that will go as far as it needs to go, and they will die after they've eaten all the oil. You don't want to get to that because that's very costly. The problem that I'm seeing here is too many people, I really think that when you're buying a house, and I know you did it, David, oh my God, I love the look of the house. I love the area. So your mind's no longer thinking, should we look at the electrical? Should we look at the heating? Is there possible oil? And I can go on about this. Is there asbestos? Is there vermiculite in the attic? Is there problems? Stop thinking with your eyes and use your mind. This is so important. You know the emails that I get, Dave? That are just nonstop about, I bought a house, I've got a problem. This has got to stop. We need to buy better. Maybe we need to go to school on how to buy a house.
Homeschool.
A homeschool.
Be homeschooled. There, I just did another one. Okay, but when they fell in love with this house and they decided to work on this house, had they not done the basement renovations, they would not have known about it.
Not necessarily.
Well, really?
Not necessarily.
How long would it have taken, do you think?
Well, you smell it. You smell it. I don't.
You never smelled it.
We didn't smell it until we ripped up the floor. I don't know.
Right.
We probably, I don't know if we ever would have known.
Yeah.
or maybe it would have been years later when we started to maybe smell oil.
Sure, sure.
I guess that's not a bad point. The problem is once you find it, now you know. It's like you found asbestos in the plaster. Now you know.
I feel so badly for the Coreys, okay? I feel so badly for them because they've got this adorable little boy. You know, they've got a perfect little family. So now what do they do?
When I first talked to you, David, I said, relax. This is going to get worse before it gets better. This is a story that no one wants to happen to them. And that's just reality. I call it divorce dust. This is an issue of financial disaster, relationship, and now you have a child on top of that, right? So this is a really hard on the family of what can happen.
Absolutely.
At this point, it's all good news. It's all good news. It's going to take a little bit of time, but that's just what it is. And once you get over it, you can get back to it. So make sure you love your wife and love your child, because that's just, you're in it now.
Yeah.
That's it.
So you're investigating more on what's going on. So the latest, what's the latest?
There is the latest. David?
Well, we found out on Friday that the oil has not reached the water line, which is great.
Wow.
But we can't really start back up with the reno yet because I just want to be sure that, you know, I haven't seen the test results, just from what I heard over the phone from Stu and our contractor, Matt, who's done a great job. He just kind of was thrown into this as well.
Yeah.
But hopefully soon we'll be able to continue with the renovation.
Okay. So it didn't reach the water. That's great news. There's still worries. There's still worries that the earth is still holding the oil. When it comes to an environmental problem like this, you must clean that soil. So let's look at someone else's house. Let's say it just went down 20 feet, 25 feet. What do? You can't dig that deep in your basement because your basement will cave in and your house will fall down. You can't do it. So what do when you're stuck in this point? You may wait 3 years to have that completely cleaned before you can finish it. And now, because you know, you have to keep it documented for when you resell the house. Just like a grow-up, just the same thing. Once you know, you have to tell everyone else. You can't say, oh, it's all done, it's been a new basement, and cover it up. You cannot do that.
Yeah, just disclosure.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Your oil tank was removed. It was not presence on the property, and it was not in the ground. The problem is because it was sandy soil, it just ran through it. It just bled through it like a sock. It's not really a good filter.
Right.
Where a clay will hold it. So that's knowing about earth and the different types. Should you know about that when you buy the house? Another question.
Yeah. So their plan, their strategy is, okay, this is the news that we have now. Take this information, and the fact is that they not to touch the basement for a while yet, correct?
Making sure that the soil has been cleaned. They're going to do a couple of more tests. They're going to give the green light, then he can go ahead and finish his basement.
Have the neighbors stopped by and said, what's with all the machinery around the house? What,
Neighbors know all about it.
They know all about it.
The one thing that, I was just the neighbors know all about it. It's when those big trucks roll in, everybody sees that. So even if we wanted to kind of keep it just us, it's impossible.
You can't.
There's big trucks and tons of people.
The reason the neighbors are coming by is they want to know if something's wrong with their house.
Yeah.
They care about you, but they're thinking, oh, hey, is there something wrong? And that's a great point. If you're buying a house in an area, should you knock on the neighbors' doors to ask them questions? Do you have an oil tank? Did you have an oil tank? Did you ever have asbestos in the plaster and or in the attic? Should that be a smart thing? The answer is absolutely yes. The neighbors know. But now they're worried, probably because they know you had a tank. Should they check?
And the interesting thing is, if there was a third party involved, if it did reach one of my neighbors, then my insurance would have covered everything for us and for them.
Right.
So,
okay,
it's an interesting twist.
Okay, now here's the thing. Before we go, the cost.
This is huge money. David and his wife, Megan, were, what do they want to do? They want to finish the basement. They're not thinking of that extra cost. This can easily go from $10,000 to $1 million to solve this problem. That's easily. So, I don't know, what are you out of pocket now?
Well, the renovation we were quoted would be about $70,000. We're at about double that right now, and it's probably going to go up a little higher.
And that's money you didn't expect. That's money. That's what we call hurting money. That hurts.
Right.
Hurts the relationship. And you're not even living comfortably yet, are you?
No.
Okay. Don't worry. It'll be right.
It'll be right. David Corey, thank you so much for sharing your story today. That's a lot to do that. Mike Holmes, thank you so much. Something everyone should know about. Okay, for more information on buried oil tanks and contamination, as well as cleanup and testing, please visit our website, maryland.ca, where you're going to find several helpful links. Thank you to both of you guys. Really appreciate that. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
Owen Reeves is up next with the do's and don'ts of winterproofing your yard against Jack Frost. And on Friday, we rock out to Foreigner's classic hits live in our studio.